After his passing, my grandma had reached out to my dad, and then we all started spending more time with her. Everything was going well. We spent Christmas and Thanksgiving at her house every year. She was the best little old lady. I couldn't fathom why my dad never had a relationship with her or why she never reached out to my dad sooner. She seemed like the type of woman that wouldn't hurt a fly. Her joyful energy was infectious. She had the best life, she didn't take herself too seriously. She made the best cinnamon buns, and her house always smelled like fresh bread. There was something weird, though, that I noticed as we got older. If my brother asked to come over, she'd sort of refuse him. But if I asked if my brother and I could come over, she'd say yes right away. She'd even call the house and ask specifically if I was coming to visit soon. Then, at Christmases, I started to notice that I was getting the bigger and better gifts. I'd even get more from her in cash and our cards as time passed. The peculiar pattern of favoritism from Grandma became more evident. I mean, she came to my high school graduation but didn't go to my brother's. She had made some excuse up about some condominium council meeting that she just had to attend. I don't know what meeting is more important than a grandson's grad, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in the pit of my stomach every time she blatantly showed her preference for me over my brother. It weighed heavily on my conscience, knowing that my brother was left out in the cold while I basked in Grandma's affection and generosity. My brother even mentioned it to me on occasion, and at first, I laughed it off and said he was just jealous. But then it all started to add up. So then eventually, he wouldn't come to our Christmas. He had this longtime girlfriend, and he would go spend Christmas with her and her family. Then I noticed that she wasn't really treating my mom all that fairly either, but it was all in really subtle ways. For example, my mom would receive a generic store-bought card from Grandma, while I received a heartfelt handwritten letter expressing her love and admiration for me. Or I noticed my grandma seemingly always busy when it came to a birthday dinner for my mom or my brother, but she'd drop all of her plans if it was my birthday. I even brought my girlfriend over for Christmas one year, and she got some earrings as a present for my grandma, but my brother's longtime girlfriend had never received a card, never mind a gift. Anyways, it became increasingly clear that my brother and mom were being deliberately excluded from Grandma's affections, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. One day, as I sat in Grandma's cozy kitchen, I mustered up the courage to broach the subject that had been gnawing at me for so long. Don't ask why it took me so long, maybe I was just scared of the truth. Grandma, I can't help but notice that you treat me differently from my brother. Why is that? Well, she straight up said, "Sweetheart, it's not what you think," and just brushed it off. But her evasive answer only fueled my determination. But before I could really get into it, sadly, my grandma passed away last year. After attending her funeral, I got this call that I was summoned to meet with a lawyer. I had told my dad this, and he said that was weird. He said maybe it was just some sort of formality, but he was definitely expecting to get a call in the coming days. When I got there, it was just me and her one living sibling. Well, it was revealed that she had left behind a house worth over $1 in cash and heirlooms and RRSPs. The inheritance was to be divided equally among the two of us, her brother and myself, representing my dad's share. I asked the lawyer if that was all. I said there had to be some mistake, and he said there wasn't. A mistake? My grandma didn't leave her son with anything or my brother. I instantly felt sick to my stomach. It wasn't like she had a bad relationship with them from what I saw. She was really close to my dad, she'd call him all the time, and they'd spend a long time chatting over the phone. He'd go over there just for coffee or to help her out with her garden or whatever she needed help doing around the house. This just seemed wrong. I had no idea what I was going to tell my dad because I knew he'd be curious and text me later asking how it went and what it was all about. Well, sure enough, my dad texts me that night and asks if everything is okay. I called him up and told him what happened. When he learned about this, he protested and questioned how it could be possible. I said I didn't know. He said something is wrong here and demanded for the lawyer's contact information. So naturally, I gave it to him because I couldn't explain it any better than I was. I didn't know any better than he did. Few days later, I get a call from the same lawyer, and he's asking me to come in. I thought I was going to get in trouble for handing out his contact information, but when I got there, he gave me a letter written by my grandma from about years ago. Apparently, this letter was to be read to me and me alone after her passing. In this letter, she explained why my grandpa had completely disowned my dad and why she wasn't including her son and my brother in her inheritance. She revealed to me that my brother's biological father is, in fact, not my dad. She said my dad met my mom, and my mom cheated on him early on in their relationship, ended up getting pregnant by someone else. But my dad knew all of this and still went ahead and married her after my brother was born. She said they knew all about the cheating and the infidelity and tried to warn my dad that if he went ahead and married my mom, they'd cut him out of their will and subsequently any kids that my mom and dad would have, including the child that isn't even his, aka my brother. She said that my grandpa wouldn't allow my grandma to speak to her boy, even though she desperately missed him and wanted to, thus, their relationship collapsed. She said they were trying to prove a point to him by cutting him out and thus sacrificed having a relationship with me. She specifically said me, she didn't mention my brother. This also meant that my dad wasn't included in any of their business affairs. They used to own a bunch of car washes. She said that originally, my dad was to inherit these, but they sold them before my grandpa passed just to spite him. They cut him out of everything. She said that my brother's dad was some guy named Philly that my mom went to church with, so I guess the different church thing was sort of true. She said that she never trusted my mom after that and couldn't forgive her for hurting her baby like that. And she said that once I came along and she finally met me, it brought back all of those years of guilt, and she said that she wanted to love me and give me everything that she had missed out on. She said that it was like her second chance at having a son. But she said that every time she looked at my brother, she was reminded of my mom's infidelity and trickery. She said she had made a promise to my grandpa to never speak to us, but that she could not speak to me or be in my life, but the cost of that was in turn breaking her promise to her husband. The letter said that at the time, my brother didn't know that our dad isn't his biological father. So then I thought, does he still not know? Should I tell him? Why would my grandma suddenly leave this for me now? I will update you guys when I get more information.